Ooh, we're dating online today, y'all. That's right. It's the dating apps episode of Flirtations. And on the show for this conversation is Damona Hoffman, an online dating expert and author of F the Fairy Tale, who is going to take us through the journey of dating on the apps and online, starting with mindset, then moving into the profile, the search, and then the date. We're answering all your questions today, such as which app should I pick? What if I'm not getting the matches I want? What should I put in my profile? What about pictures? Do you have any conversation tips, Flirty? I won't keep you from this episode any longer. Let's do this.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and a gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, Flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, Flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt.
Flirties, it is the official online dating and dating apps episode. And to have this conversation with us to guide us through the whole process, Damona Hoffman, welcome to the show.
I am so excited to be here.
I am honestly, yes, so excited too, because this is not a topic that has been covered on Flirtations just yet. We have touched on online dating, of course, the dating apps, profiles, conversations, messages here and there, but a standalone episode, not yet until today. So thank you so much for being a part of this episode. And please tell the Flirties a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I'm honored to talk about online dating today because I have actually been an online dating coach for much longer than people even realize that online dating's been around. I have been doing this over 18 years. I started out originally as a dating profile writer after I met my husband online because people were like, wait, online dating doesn't work. Even back then, they were like, online dating doesn't work. How'd you meet this great guy? And I realized that my professional career I was working as a casting director in television, and I was teaching classes for actors in marketing, how to have headshots that would stand out in the crowd, how to ace an audition. And we all know headshot is the same as a dating profile photo, first date, always an audition. And so once I applied what I was learning professionally to my own online dating experience, that's when I met my husband. So I started helping other people, originally just writing dating profiles for fun on the side. I did that for many years. And then about 13 years ago, I decided to leave the TV, behind the scenes TV behind and launch my business coaching people on all aspects of dating from pre-date to pre-marriage, but online dating has always been a foundation of that journey. And now I get to work on TV, but on the other side, on shows like the Drew Barrymore Show, where I'm an official relationship expert and Hollywood and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yes. So cool. And bringing all of this knowledge and experience to your clients and to the Flirties today, because I mentioned at the top that you're going to walk us through this process, as the idea I have for this episode is really taking someone through the creation of a dating app profile from start to finish. So whether you have a dating profile already made, you're thinking about it, you're on a break, but curious about getting back out there, okay, this is going to be your resource for making that profile just stand out. So first things first, I think we got to start with a little bit of mindset. So like I know, because I'm sure you get this question. I do too. It's like, we're on the apps, but we're burnt out. It's like, is this working? I'm not sure. I'm feeling like I'm just not getting quality matches. I'm single and dating myself. So I'm very much on the apps and am having some of this experience as well. So at the top of the show, mindset. How can we just like get ourselves just like prepared and ready to make a fire profile?
I'm glad that you started with mindset because it's actually where I always start my clients. And when we begin a dating journey, it's also where I started my book, F the Fairy Tale. I broke it into the 4 phases of dating. And it's the mindset, the search, the date, the future. So a lot of people right now are saying, well, I'm really frustrated with dating, but they're starting with the future. We got to begin at the beginning. So when I say begin with mindset, I'm talking about really 2 different things. One, clarifying what you're even looking for. And I don't just mean, over 6 feet tall makes this much money. I mean, what are the real values and goals of this person? Who are they on the inside? The outside, that can change. And attraction can be based on so many different factors. But I'm helping people build long-term relationships. And that has to start with a foundation of shared goals and shared values. Then we can layer in all the other things. But the other element of mindset is really coming to terms with what your predominant thoughts are around dating. And I know I see this a lot in your Instagram comments. I see this a lot in mine and my audience and my clients will have a story that they're telling themselves about why they haven't met that person. And the story might be dating apps don't work. The story might be there's no single people that I'm attracted to in my city or online at all. That's my favorite one, Benjamin. There's no one attractive online. Like, if that's your narrative, we have to reframe some things, right? And so once we have those two elements clarified, then we can start to strategize. I'm really big on dating strategy. It might not sound the sexiest, but we can do it in a flirty way and we can make it fun so that you can, it's all about like feeling that progress, the momentum building that really gets us to that next level in dating.
That was already so helpful, even for me, as I have that dual experience too. When I'm on the apps, it's like you see someone initially, you think they're cute, or you start to look at their profile and you're like, oh my gosh, we have some really key things in common. Like for me, they're a cat person. They like reality TV. They like yoga. And it's like, is this the one? Is this the one? And of course, like approaching it in that way is going to put so much pressure on the experience before you've even created the match. And then if it doesn't lead to a match or the conversation falls off, it's like, well, here we go. It didn't work last time. It's not going to work this time. And so I had that experience myself and of attaching a story to what is a connection that is still in the perhaps very early beginning stages.
It's totally natural. We all do that. We have to maintain some level of hope and excitement, but not get carried away with the story and with, the fairy tale and all the stories that we've been told over not just our lifetimes, but we're dating in a completely new paradigm than our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents. And yet, in many cases, we're still sort of playing by those old rules. We're pursuing the same qualities that someone may have desired 100 years ago. And we need to really step back and say, wait a minute, the way that we meet and connect and communicate, I know you talk about this all the time, it's totally changed. It's totally changed. And we have to acknowledge that. We can't just say like, oh, well, I do everything online, but I don't like online dating. Like I buy all my clothes online, I get my groceries sent me, I get my food delivered. I do everything online, but I don't want to do online dating. That's not the story I want to tell my kids. That's not the way I thought it was going to go. Like even the fact that we're online dating, a lot of people carry just a bit of resentment around that.
Yeah.
Or maybe more than a bit.
That's something I hadn't thought about before. Like almost there's like maybe a little bit of stigma to it. Like it's like as if your meet cute moment happened on a Hinge or a Bumble or something like that. It's like versus an in real life moment. But to your point, where we shop online, we pay our bills online. Like we live so many parts of our lives online. Why not incorporate dating online is a very normal part of life if you're dating.
It really is a normal part. But I read thousands and thousands of profiles, and there so many times I can tell what the block is just from reading someone's profile. It's like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but here I am. I wanted to meet someone IRL, but here I am. Like,
Yeah.
let's just release those stories. It just is
Yeah.
what it is. It's just another way to connect. It's never meant to
Yeah.
be a substitute for
Yeah.
real human interaction. We're not there yet. Like, so if we can just kind of start on a neutral, and also a lot of what I hear about dating apps is like, well, dating apps don't work, or dating apps they don't want you to find love because then you'll leave the app. I just have to dispel this. And I've worked with a number of the dating apps. I'm not currently working with any of the dating apps, but I have worked behind the scenes at Match, at OkCupid, I've consulted with Tinder, I've consulted at Bumble, all of these apps. Nobody is saying, we're going to keep you single so that we can get all of the money.
Right.
If you think about that, that is a completely ridiculous business plan. I'm going to be successful by making my users unsuccessful. No, they want you to have success. They want you to be communicating with people. They want to have success stories so that you tell your friends. So if you are having a frustration, I'm not speaking to you necessarily. I'm speaking to any listener that may be having a frustration that is directed towards the dating app.
Yeah.
I want you to really take a step back and say, okay, what do I have control over here? I think a lot of folks are dating feeling like it's just all out of their control. And what I've done for the last 18 plus years is help people realize how much control you have. Yeah. You're not running the dating app is not running your life. You are running the dating app. So what levers can you pull? And we can get into the nitty-gritty of things, little tips and tricks. But what levers can you pull? How can you show up differently to get a different outcome for yourself? Because people are doing it every day. I mean, it's still now the most popular way for people to meet. So if in 1 in 3 Americans have been on a dating app at some point in their life, if it's the critical mass is there, it's got to work. It's just how do we get it to work for you?
That's really good and helpful for me, because I have those points of frustrations too, where sometimes I feel like the dating apps are not on my side, or sort of like they're not showing me the quality matches or people that I would be interested in. It's sort of like the best features are behind paywalls kind of thing. And it can feel like you don't have the level of control over your experience that you would like. And so I'm really glad you brought that up, because I had one more question related to mindset, and it's about this specifically. How can people start to, like, how can the flirties, some of those tips or strategies just to have more control, but just agency and autonomy over their dating app experiences?
I just want to confirm one thing that you just said.
Yes.
You said all the best features are behind paywalls. You're right. They are.
Yeah.
Factual. So I'm just encouraging people to take the emotionality out of that, where it's like, yeah, it is a business. So they've realized it. And look, I've been doing this since before dating apps were free. So it used to be free to join, pay to communicate. That was always the model. And then Tinder came along and was like, it's free. It's just free. It's free. Free love, everybody. And then everybody's like, oh, good. It's free. Like, this is a public service. No, it is a business. It is a business. So it's a tool, paying as you would any other service that you're using, where if you want a premium level of service, you pay, like you want Uber Eats to come faster, you pay a little bit more, right? You $99 more and it comes faster. Does it really come faster? I don't know. I'm like, was it really? Okay. Not worth it. I don't know. But what I have heard from my listeners and clients is that when they have paid for certain features, and we can talk about what is worth paying for and what isn't, when they've paid for certain features, they're like, oh my gosh, I got out of Rose jail. Oh my gosh, all of these options opened up to me. And that's because you're not just necessarily paying for access. Like a lot of people will say, oh, my best matches are behind the paywall. That's not really true. What's happening is that they're front loading the best matches to you. And then you've kind of been through the best matches. And then you to wait for new matches to arrive.
Right.
But on a lot of the apps, paying for premium, what it does is it shortcuts many of the processes. It gives you additional tools that make it happen faster. And we get frustrated with dating when we're like, I'm on the apps every day. I'm doing all of the things Damona said to do. And why is it not happening? So if we can truncate that time in the search, remember I said mindset, the search, the date, the future. If we can truncate that time in the search, you can find less frustration.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a way, like I sometimes, because I have definitely paid for some of the premium features, and I like the word you use to your tools. And like, I'll think about it at like a streaming service. It's like, and you're not committed necessarily to a lifetime, or you have to do this, month to month commitment kind of thing. It could be for a relatively short period of time, even for a week, if they have some of those trial periods, doing it for a month, but just getting a glimpse behind the paywall to see what those features are available, because it really does shorten the amount of time that you're going to spend, because you have more direct access to who's looked at your profile, or you can kind of shortcut a lot of those processes that could involve a lot of your time and lead to a lot of frustration. Because if you're going to be on the apps, perhaps doing some of the premium features, going for it for a period of time, testing it out, seeing if you like it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And you're not marrying the app.
No.
Furthermore, I also recommend that people I talk in F the Fairy Tale about this principle I've created for my clients called cycling. So it's, and a lot of this stuff is new. Like I used to say, don't pay for the features. They're a waste of money. But as they've moved more of the features behind the paywall, now you kind of have to pay for certain features. But a lot of the apps, like all of this stuff keeps changing and evolving. So my advice keeps changing and evolving along with technology.
Yeah.
So,
and it makes sense that it has to. Yeah.
I'm curious, since you have paid for some of them, I didn't tell you about cycling. So with cycling is when you start on one app and you stay in that app for 3 to 4 weeks, and you kind of get the top level matches there, move to another app for the same amount of time. And then if you feel like you're hitting that frustration wall or your matches are drying up, you cycle back to the first app, or you cycle to a third app. But I don't actually like for my clients to be on more than one app at a time.
Okay.
I'm very overwhelming when you have so many messages. And if you're as engaged as I recommend people are with the app, because I think people will be like, oh, I'm on the apps, but like they haven't checked their messages, they're not swiping. Right. And it's like, just having it on your phone doesn't mean you're dating. Like, I think sometimes it feels like, oh, I've checked that box because I'm look, Damona, I'm doing the thing. It's like, well, you can do it, or you can do it mindfully. Like, we can go to the gym. That doesn't mean we're gonna get fit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So you have to do the exercises. So being active on the apps is one way that the algorithm will reward you. If you're checking every day, if you're swiping every day, if you're engaging with the people that you're in conversation with, if you're doing it quickly. And I'm actually glad that a lot of the apps now have put these time clocks on the communication, because I have found that the longer communication goes without moving offline, the less chance that actually is going to manifest into a relationship. You've probably seen the same thing.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that same experience too. Yeah.
But tell me what features you have found to be useful.
One of my favorite features is knowing who has already swiped or looked to match with you. Like, I love getting that preview. So instead of swiping, and you're not getting matches, right? Like, because that happens to me all the time, where I am swiping and they're not leading to matches. So either this person hasn't swiped on me, or they haven't seen my profile. The algorithm hasn't showed it to them. If I can see, inactive. Or
Or
they're, oh my God. Yeah, they're inactive. Good point. If I can see who has already looked to match with me, well, I know I'm going to instantly create matches and I can get the conversation moving, or going right then and there. So it takes away so much of the frustration or the disappointment. This isn't working. No one's swiping. No one's matching. They are. If you can get direct access to that, to me, that's worth it.
I agree with you on that. I think
Yeah.
also paying for certain search fields
Mm,
is useful, because we tend to just people tend to set their parameters very narrow.
yeah.
And because we're dating based on the fantasy, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, in a perfect world, this is the story I've told myself.
Yeah.
And I'll give an example of my own. When I met my husband, I don't know why, Benjamin, but I
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
believed that I was very sophisticated and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be a sophisticated older man. So
Mm-hmm.
I had set my parameters as a year to 10 years older.
Okay.
And he was not coming up for me. And, this is like not based on swipe technology. This was based on more search technology,
Mm-hmm.
more similar to like the features that you have like on a Match or an OkCupid. But he wasn't coming up in any of my searches. But then he lands in my inbox and I'm like, who is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
We're the same age. And he almost didn't reach out to me
Yeah.
because he was like, oh, she wants to date somebody older. And this is another vote for like, just like we don't necessarily know what we want.
Yep.
Keep in mind, other people don't know what they want. So
Right.
like I just had this big debate on my Instagram where about lying about your age on your profile, and
Mm-hmm.
how there's this narrative that all straight men want to date younger women. I don't know in the gay male community if it's the same narrative,
Mm,
but
somewhat, yeah.
but it runs deep. It
Yes.
runs
Yeah.
deep for straight women. And I have just seen statistically and anecdotally among my clients, it's just not necessarily true. What they set as their age parameters are not necessarily who they're attracted to.
Right.
So if we date based on the fantasy, then we're going to be dating we're going to see a very narrow set of matches.
Yeah.
But a lot of the apps know this. So when you set your fields,
Okay.
they certainly seen they do what I call fuzzy matching,
Okay.
where you'll see somebody that like maybe you set your parameters for like 30 to 40, but you might see a 27-year-old and you're like, what's up with this?
Mm-hmm.
Because they know that we are not really married to those
Okay.
parameters that we set, unless you choose the deal breaker feature, which I do not recommend using unless something is truly a deal breaker. And for the love of all that is holy,
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to choose a deal breaker, just make it one. Like I talked in F the Fairy Tale about a client who was like, I'm not seeing any matches. And I was like, really? Like, you're being kind of hyperbolic. Like,
Right,
no
right.
matches. And I looked under the hood and I was like, oh, she has 4 deal breakers set.
Oh, yeah. A deal breaker being, kids or no kids kind of thing. Maybe looking to have, become married or not married, something like that.
That would be a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Honing back in on those goals and values.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Not a deal breaker. Education is not a deal breaker.
Mm-hmm.
We make so many assumptions that we know somebody's story based on these statistical things.
Yeah. Especially online dating.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Because we think, okay, well, then there's somebody else in the next swipe. But then we're missing out on really great matches that like what I try to encourage people to do is to get underneath whatever is on the list.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about the list myth being like the first thing that you'll encounter when you're dating. It's the biggest myth, because we're all dating based on this list, but we haven't asked ourselves why. Why did you say that they needed to be that age? Or why did you say they had to have that education?
Right.
It's much more about how you want to feel in the relationship. So it's like, oh, I want to be intellectually stimulated. Well, that doesn't mean that person needs a master's degree necessarily.
Yeah. kind of equating a lot of your lists to icks or even deal breakers or even non-negotiables, which of course is going to disqualify so many potential matches just based on a profile and some pictures. So I want to, okay, so let's go into the search part of your process now, and a couple of questions around the search. You started to allude to what is one of my questions, and that is around your search parameters as far as like location, age, just like what kind of geography are you looking at, your distance? Because I'll get a question sometimes of, I live in a smaller town or a more rural area, and so I have to open up my radius, 50 miles or 100 miles. So curious about some of those search parameters, and then this question, which it's submitted multiple times. I know I know you get it too. Which app should I even be on? Is one better than the other? Since we're picking one to start, I like that strategy. Which one should the flirties pick?
Oh, I do get this question a lot.
Yeah.
Of course, I have an answer for this. There is no one perfect app.
Okay.
This is, again, a story we're telling ourselves that it just hasn't happened for me because I haven't been on the right app. My person's on another app. The right app for you is there's just two questions that you have to answer for yourself. Do I like the functionality? Like I go on, do I feel frustrated every time I open the app? And do I like the matches here? Like, are there enough people where you're like, oh, okay. And there have been some apps like I've open for clients and I'm just like, oh no, not this one. Because it really varies. And I coach people all over the country and really all over the world. Yep. It completely varies based on where you are, based on what your demographics are and what you're looking for. So it would be irresponsible for me to say, well, you should be on Hinge. Like I can tell you in LA where I am, and for women in their 30s and 40s, I hear the most success with Hinge. Does that mean that you should be on Hinge? Not necessarily. In North Carolina, that you might have a completely different experience. And then I have a client right now who's on Hinge. She is a 59-year-old woman in San Diego. Hinge is not, it's not for her and what she's looking for. It's not doing great.
Okay.
So it's about finding the right, it's about tracking what is really happening. Like, and this is where we get into the strategy, the part that I said wasn't so sexy, but we're going to make flirty and sexy.
Yes.
Because what gets tracked gets measured. And when you are measuring what's happening, you can actually make changes. Okay. So if you see, all of my comments, let's stick with Hinge for a second, because you have to comment on something specific. All of my likes, all my comments are on this photo. By the way, I also don't let the app do will show your photo, the order based on activity. I don't like that because I like to control the factors, because if we're pulling for certain factors, then we can say, when we had this as our primary photo, we got this kind of match. Because you might get, if you got a bikini shot, sure, you might get a lot of activity on that bikini shot. That doesn't necessarily mean that's getting you the outcome that you want. Right. So we want to control the factors we can control and really get granular on the kind of messages you're getting, the amount of activity, and then how many of those are moving towards dates. You can have a lot of conversations happening on Tinder that may not materialize into dates. Certainly on Raya, you're going to have a lot of conversations that don't materialize to dates if you get the good fortune of being accepted into Raya. The Raya, because a lot of people are like, well, I'm on it now. Yeah. I'm in Raya. Look at me now. Let me collect all the messages. But yeah, when we can get really dialed in to what is getting us the results that we want, the dates, the conversations, the connections, the flirting, that's when you can feel things changing. And then you're not married to the app. You may start on one app and then cycle to another one. And that's okay.
Yeah. That's okay. So it sounds like I like that insight of just where Which one has the features and the functions that I are really working for me, that I enjoy using, that I enjoy being on, perhaps that is the most user friendly to set up, that maybe has some safety parameters in place where you really feel comfortable and good being on the app can be a great thing too. Cycling through perhaps one at a time. I like that strategy so you don't get overwhelmed, and then giving yourself the chance to just start making matches. That's what it's ultimately all about. We're just looking to make some matches. That's
Yeah. And there's
yeah.
actually 4 different categories of dating apps. People tend to say like, "Oh, I don't like online dating," or I've been on dating apps and they don't work."
Mhm.
But you may have been in the wrong category of app. So we have the legacy apps, that's like Match or OkCupid, where they have a
Yeah.
lot of options and a lot of search features
Mhm.
because they were built in the pre-app time.
Yeah.
Then we have the swipe apps, which is really built for ease of use. That's the Tinders, the Bumbles.
Yeah.
And then we have the niche apps where there's like farmers only, J-Date, like something
Ah,
if there's something specific you want. And
yeah.
then we have the curated apps like the Coffee Meets Bagel, where you're not getting an overwhelming number of matches. It's
Mm.
a more curated
Okay.
experience. So you also may want to cycle in between those different categories of apps because they don't all work the same, and they also attract different people in different mindsets. You could meet
Right.
the same person on Tinder
Right.
and on I don't know, on Coffee Meets Bagel, and
Yeah.
they may
Mhm.
be in completely different headspace when they're
Mhm.
communicating with you.
Yeah. That's a good point, and because I tend to just have my blinders on when I'm thinking about dating app options and what's available to me, and it's the swipe apps. It's the ones that are on my phone, and I don't really think of all the time think about your matches or maybe your eHarmonies, something that may be more desktop based.
They would literally murder me if they
Yeah.
They knew they knew that we just said desktop, because, yeah, they're like, "No, no, no, we're apps now. It's not
I
Match.com. It's the Match app."
I
Um,
know, but like, yeah.
but and they're working hard to sort of modernize and move
Yeah.
it to a more mobile experience. But for as someone who's been in this business for as long as I have, I really love certain features, and there are certain features on Match
Mhm.
that are only available on the desktop.
On the desktop. Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize some of the apps that were only built as apps, you can use them on the desktop. You can use Bumble on your desktop.
Yeah.
So if you don't like being on the phone, some people just don't like, doing all of that on your phone
Yeah,
and typing
or you
stuff up.
have find like you're getting overwhelmed maybe by notifications or like having this thing that you
Oh,
seemingly always have access to. So that could be a good boundary in a way, is to maybe set something up just on your desktop, even though the the legacy apps may not like us for
I know. You won't fall.
that.
Can we talk about notifications though?
Yes, yes.
You don't
Mhm.
have your notifications on, right?
What? Okay, I do, but I will coach clients to turn those notifications off and just have specific times of day that they are checking in. Unless they're like in that active planning stage of planning a date, like let's go ahead, let's move forward intentionally with that. But otherwise it's like yeah, don't have your notifications on, but do as I say, not as I do, as Damona says. Listen to Damona.
Well, your advice is totally right. I don't know why you're not following your own advice.
I
But
like the notifications.
well, what it does though, it is anxiety producing.
Yeah,
This is what
yeah,
I've experienced for my clients. I'm sure you've seen the same thing, which is why you recommend turning them off. Time is of the essence once you match because the speed of communication has changed dramatically in the time that I've been doing this.
yeah.
Average response time to a text, to any text, is 90 seconds.
Mm,
90 seconds.
wow.
So people are so accustomed to that immediate gratification, that immediate response, that on an app, if you're going 2 or 3 days without responding to people, they have already moved on, honey. You like way down in the queue.
Yeah.
But you also need to protect your mental health. And there is an effect of getting that dopamine rush
Mhm,
and you get the notification, and then
mhm.
you check the app, and then you're like, oh, or that person then ghosted you, or they unmatched, or whatever, and then
Yeah,
you feel like that withdrawal symptom,
Absolutely.
and we're riding that wave. So if you can, like you said, put parameters
Mm-hmm.
around how you're using the app, again, it will make you feel a little bit more in control of what's happening so that
Yes.
you're not just riding that emotional wave.
Yeah.
This
And
is
that's
it's
just
awesome.
what it honestly, and that's just what I was thinking too, is one strategy to have more control over your experience on the apps is to monitor and manage those notifications. So not having them turned on, because then it can become more like, like this gamification of the apps, like that some people talk about, where it's like, you're swiping and you get the dings and you get like the hits and the rushes of dopamine. It's like, okay, well, if you're using it in that way, if it's just about the match and the notification and the swipe, well, of course it's not going to be. It's going to be about the highs and lows. It's not going to be necessarily about finding dates.
Yeah. And everything you're saying is totally true. Like, yes,
Yeah.
the apps have gamified dating. Tinder used to have the language want to keep playing. Like, yes, they've gamified it because that's what makes technology sticky. They know how to make you addicted to the app because they want you to be checking it regularly. They want you to be communicating. As I said earlier, they're rewarding you for this.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying for the apps either way, whether you're paying for premium features or you're paying with your time and attention.
Yes.
Nothing in this world is free.
It is free. Yeah.
But we get to control how we interact with the technology. We can't control the people.
Mm-hmm. No.
Like we should talk about that a little bit too, because part of online dating is getting offline, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's not romantic meeting online. It's like, you're not supposed to be having long romantic text threads or DMs with this stranger. Yeah. That's not what it's built for. It's built to connect you in the real world.
Yeah, to move off the apps. And I had this question too. I'm glad you brought it up. Is like, well, it's just, it's true. It's like, I don't feel like I'm making any matches. Like, I think we've addressed a lot of that question. And yes, you cannot control ultimately who's on the apps, of course, but being able to control as much as you can your experience. And so I want to talk about now, if maybe we're still in the search phase, about optimizing your profile with pictures, with using prompts. What are some good recommendations, some strategies as far as like building out a bio, what to say about yourself? Yeah.
The bio is very app specific. And I do have I have a template on my website that's like plug and play paragraphs that have worked for clients in the past. And also like writing prompts. A lot of times people get stuck even getting started with how do you write about yourself?
Yeah.
I know that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is be as specific as possible because you want to think of your bio as leaving little threads for someone to pick up on and move into a conversation with you.
Yes.
So if it's all just generic, I'm just as comfortable in sweats as I am, in a night on the town. Like, no, you're not. Just pick one. Like,
yeah.
Sure.
Specificity is going to be your absolute best friend. It's like an example I use is, say you like ice cream, saying, okay, I like ice cream. Well, I would say the majority of people enjoy ice cream. So what kind of flavor? How do you like to go? Do you have a favorite ice cream shop? Do you like to go out for it? Do you like to eat in? Do you have a favorite brand? Maybe if you're eating in, are you watching a movie? Are you watching a TV show? Are you listening to a podcast? Create that experience, create that imagery, create that story around what is a very simple statement. I like ice cream.
Yeah, exactly.
Now
it's a conversation piece now.
Yes.
And also I say, pick a side of the street and make a bold statement. Like, cookies and cream is the best ice cream there is.
Yeah.
That was has ever been invented. And if you disagree, come fight me. People are going to have an opinion on. I give an example and have the fairy tale of like, I always clap at airplane landings. I don't know why that's so divisive. There are the people that are like, hell yeah, clap at airplane landings.
Yeah.
And there are the people who are like, I hate you.
Yes.
Clap at airplane landings.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
make bold statements. And just like
Yes.
you said, that's exactly right. Like, think of it as telling a story. And a lot of times when I say tell a story, people think that means long. No, I'm not
No,
saying
yeah.
long. I'm just saying, like you said, specifics,
Yeah.
little details that paint a picture.
Mhm.
And you don't have to tell your whole life story.
No.
Just a little window into who you are and a conversation starter to tell them more.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's like I like to think about your profiles as in many ways a screener. So if you're having some of those conversation starters, some of those elements of storytelling, you're including things about who you are, your values, all that good stuff. Allow that to be your truth in your profile and repel matches that they're not going to be attracted to someone that's looking for a long-term relationship. Good. That's what you want.
Yeah,
Like,
we're afraid to do that because
I
we
know.
think that we're sort of confusing dating apps with Instagram. We're like, more likes, more likes,
Mm,
more likes.
mm,
Don't want all of the likes. You
no,
want
no.
the right likes.
Yes,
People who are most compatible. But can
absolutely.
we talk about pictures?
Yes, yes, please. That was very much on the list. Please, pictures, pictures.
Okay. So the pictures have always been and still are the most important part of your profile. And before people say nobody reads anymore, like, yes, no one reads anymore. It's true. Tell your story through your photos. So I like to include what I call the 3 C's.
Okay.
And fingers, yes, 3 C's.
I'm counting 1, 2, 3.
I did it differently. So I was like, oh, 3 fingers, yes. Color, context, character.
Okay.
Color, context, character. Color is strategic. That's to stand out. So you will note that I am wearing a pink shirt today. I have a light behind me.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things. I mean, one, I'm a pink enthusiast, but
My
also
brand color. Yes. That hot pink. Yes. Love a pink. Mm-hmm.
love a pink. I mean, the cover of my book, pink.
Gorgeous.
Barbie, pink, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have to be pink. I had a client. I was like, red is really the best color to use because you think of how red shows up in nature. Stop sign, stop light, stop and pay attention is what it's saying.
Yeah.
She was like, I can't do red.
Mm-hmm.
You may get me into a pink. I was like, I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Any kind of color, you're wearing a beautiful blue shirt. Any kind of color is going to stand out. And it doesn't have to be on your person. It could be on the background behind you. But we want to think of the whole composition of the photo because strategically, if somebody's swiping through a bunch of photos, how do you swipe? You look at the first picture and you're like, no, 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 no. Oh, huh.
Yeah.
What? Let me see the other pictures here. So that's the whole purpose of the color, to get them to stop and pay attention. And another reason why I don't allow the app to choose the best primary photo, because I want to control that.
Right. Okay.
Next thing, context. This is telling your story through your photos, as we were just saying. And then the last one, this is the one that most people forget. This is character. This is showing your flirty side, your quirky side, your nerdy side. Like an example of this one, I had a client that was really into Comic-Con. Not my thing. No shade to the people who are. Not my thing. But for the people who are into it, very into it.
Yeah.
So she had her like Comic-Con photo to show that she's into that.
Yep.
And that was always the photo that got her the most activity.
Because
that's the one that's the one that people see and they're not just like, oh, that's a, cute face, but oh, that's somebody who's right for me.
Yes. Yes.
And repels the other ones.
Yeah. Really good. And so I have this question now, and that is, should I include a full body shot and or should I show skin in any of my pictures?
Well, you know the answer to this, but
yeah.
If you asked me, I'll say yes, you should include a full body shot. Truth and
I agree. I agree.
I want to get your take on this skin. I say you want to be mindful of what you're marketing, right?
Yeah.
And any skin, any amount of skin, whether I'm just wearing a tank top or I'm in a bikini or you're shirtless, like any amount of skin, it is going to light up a different part of the viewer's brains. So I'm always designing not for like, what do I think is cute? What do my girlfriends think is cute? I'm designing for the person viewing the profile.
Yes.
So I say use skin sparingly, but what do you think?
I agree. I use it as a test photo. So it's never the first picture. It's usually one of the very last ones I include. And it's going to be some type of a picture with me without my shirt off. So maybe it's like, right, you're getting the classic gym selfie, or it's me at the beach having a beach day, something like that. And I want to know, after everything in my profile, all my other pictures, my whole bio, I have given you so much to react to. Is that the one thing that got your attention? If it is, I know right off the bat, okay, this is a one-dimensional flirt. You're flirting in the physical dimension. I see what caught your interest, what caught your eye, and kind of perhaps why you're on the apps, or what kind of energy you're leading with. And so already I'm like, dang, you couldn't have asked me about the ice cream. You couldn't have asked me about this other picture of me teaching yoga, which is a huge passion of mine. That none of that really. So I include it as a little bit of a test. That is a strategy that works for me. Client specific, I wouldn't always advise to, like, you don't have to include a skin picture by any means.
That's an interesting theory. And I hadn't really heard that one.
Yeah.
But I like that. I'm gonna be clocking that. Because I think you're right that some of the profile also, you can sort of test what you can test what works, and you can test, as I was saying earlier, what kind of responses you get from which photos. So that makes total sense why you'd want to do it. And yeah, it's just, for me, I'm generally curating profiles for people looking for a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I want to even hold back a little bit more, because I want them to earn the skin.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And the one final, one other tip I'll share about pictures is, you don't make that first picture a group picture or a picture with anybody else. Let that first one be just you. And if you feel like, Benjamin, Damona, we don't have any pictures, all I have are some selfies kind of thing. The next time you go out, the next time you're at work, you're running errands, ask the person, you come to Trader Joe's, come to my line, I will take a picture of you. Yes, I will.
I love that you said that. And also, when we're talking about flirting, it also could be a great opening for a flirt. You could get double dates from it. You could get a date from the person at the grocery store, and you could get a date from someone online. Because, so many times people think it's either one or the other. You're either on the apps or you're dating IRL. Yes. It's not. It's you're dating all the time. You're dating right now. You're dating all the time. And there are opportunities everywhere. I like online dating as a good practicing ground for my clients, because it can really get you more comfortable, even just with the process of dating and talking to strangers, starting conversations. But sometimes it's practice, and then you apply it out in the real world. So I love that tip. I love it. And I don't like group shots at all.
You're okay.
I just say no, because and people are like, oh, but I want to show that I have friends. And I'm like, nobody's dating you for your friends. Yeah. They're going to assume that if they like hanging out with you, probably other people like hanging out with you too. That you are the star of your profile. So don't borrow somebody else's kid. I have seen it. I've seen it.
No.
Don't borrow somebody else's dog.
Someone else's dog. I was just thinking
that. I literally just last week, a client's profile.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh, get cute dog. He's like, it's not mine. I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh. No, we're not child dog, cat baiting in our pictures. Oh my Lord.
Totally are. And we're not doing that. They are doing that, but we're not falling for it.
No.
And the other thing that happens is that, one, they can't tell who you are.
Yes.
And two, what if they see your cute friend?
That's exactly why I am not a fan of these group shots, especially that first picture. If you're out one night, you had a night out with friends, you know what, and you looked incredible, and you're like, but that's one of the best pictures I've ever taken, by all means, but limit it to one, and certainly not that first one, because someone may think, dang, who's the friend? Like
Yeah. Also, you might be able to crop. I'm a big fan of
crop, yeah.
cropping photos. Like this was something from way back when I was a casting director. I would show, going back to the skin part, I would
Mhm.
show my clients, and this was like for acting. Here's what happens when this is the photo in its current frame. Here's what happens when we cut the bottom third out. And usually now the photos are high enough resolution where
Yeah.
you can crop it, and you can use, like, there's plenty of free app. You can use Photoshop, you can use, I like PicMonkey. It's just like an easy little, use any app on your phone. Um d- don't edit it though.
No, yeah. We don't need to
Dare.
do,
No
we don't need to
face
do all of
tuning.
that.
Yeah.
Oh my
They're
God.
gonna meet you in
Yeah.
person, and then they're gonna be like,
That's
why does this look different?
that's the goal. Yeah. That's
But if you crop, you can direct the eye to what you want them to see. And what you
Yeah.
want them to see, the things that get the most activity are eyes looking directly at the camera, and
Okay.
smiles with
and smiles. Yeah.
smiles.
Smiles
If
with
you got the
teeth.
teeth.
Show
If you
them
don't
off.
have teeth, if you don't have teeth,
You can smile closed mouth.
you can smile closed mouth. That's fine.
Yeah. You can still do that. The smile is still for you because, yeah, for sure. And then, do you have a little bit of extra or a little bit more time?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So good, because there's one more topic that I want to get to, and that's about conversation. But I want to go back to something you just said for just a moment, and that is having the dating apps be like, I think we've been talking about strategy throughout this whole episode, and that is to have the dating apps be a part. Like, this doesn't take the place of, it's not one or the other. It's not an all or nothing. You get to date in real life, have those in-person connections, flirt, and be on the apps too. Like, it's a part of this comprehensive, if you're dating, strategy.
Yeah. And the other thing that I want to tell the flirties
Mm-hmm.
is that if you think of this dating plan or process as a finite period of time, like, I'm going to give this 100% for 3 months. Like, my program is 3 months. That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying let's be on the apps for the rest of your life. I'm saying, can you for 3 months make this your number one or maybe two priority?
Yeah.
Can you not take on all that extra work because your boss is going to give it to you anyway? Like, can you practice setting some boundaries there to create the space for the relationship? Can you be on the app mindfully? Can you show up in a different way when you're out at the grocery store, out and about, on the train, whatever?
Yeah.
Can you also ask friends for introductions? And you also say yes to parties, invitations, things that you would rather stay at home in your pajamas. But can you say, I'm doing this dating plan. Damona said, just give it 3 months.
Yep.
Make this my focus for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
If you can do that, 90% of the people who go through a 3-month program with me meet someone they're dating exclusively by the end of the 3 months.
Yeah.
I don't have that success rate because I am some incredible magician. I mean, I am, but that's besides. It's because of my clients. It's because you are choosing to make this your focus, and you are walking through these dates not just focused on the story, but really being present, being mindful and in the moment. And really, that human connection is what we're all seeking.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that so many of us are missing, which is why I love your work so much. Because really, it's about connecting human.
Yes.
And that's what we've kind of forgotten to do, but we're all being called to do it right now.
Yes. And you're doing the work. That's my number one flirt mission, is just to have people engage in more connections and more meaningful connections with themselves, with people they're going to be dating, even platonically, with friends. Like, just, yeah, I feel like that was something that was missing in my own life when I was just feeling really lonely and alone and lacking connection, just feeling lost, and even how to put myself out there. It was so difficult. And I'm so glad that comes through in the flirt content. That's a big part of it. And it's also really inspiring to know that your clients are having success, they're making matches, they're forming relationships. And I can share, like, from my experience too. Like, I'm thinking of my friend who is on Hinge. She's late 20s. late 20s girl and out there dating and is now has a boyfriend. And it came
Hey.
from Hinge. So it's like I know that they can be frustrating and exhausting, and there's dating app burnout, all that can be very real. But I hope this conversation is going to be helpful and impactful, and having them be these tools in your dating life to ultimately make more connections. And so my final question before we learn more about like how to work with you and where you live on the internet and your book is the conversation piece. So we've gotten our mind right. We're in the search. We've found our app. We've got our parameters set up with age and location. We've worked on our profile, our pictures. We're swiping, notifications are off, and now we've got some matches. A few conversation tips.
Well, the easiest way to move into conversation, I like to just have like scripts and systems for people because we can get into our heads of like, oh, to say to this person. Yeah. Comment plus question. That's the easy format. Comment plus question. And I mean, I'm talking to like the master of flirting here. So I'm not saying anything that the flirties haven't heard from you already. But one, we want to think of leaving threads for the conversation to continue. And starting out with short burst communication, like a lot of my clients that I'm onboarding that are like newer to dating apps, they tend to write too much in those initial flirts.
Yeah.
And have to draw it out a little bit and not leave people feeling overwhelmed. Because if you ask people like 3 questions in a DM, they're like overwhelmed. I don't know what to respond to. So give them one question to respond to and try to get that volley going. I keep talking about this momentum that creates the momentum, and then you can decide how you want to move it forward. Now, I'm going to give you a game-changing tip.
Okay.
Some of the flirties are going to be like, I'm not doing it.
Okay.
But I really like a screening step before you give someone the gift of your time. And this is something where in the last few years, we've just barreled through it. But I think it's one of the things creating dating burnout, where we just go from the swipe, we're matched, we're talking to people, we have 1 or 2 threads of conversation, and we're like, okay, let's meet up. Mm-hmm. The apps have pared down the information that you have on someone so much that you really don't, all you know is that you like their picture and that they're good at witty banter. Mm-hmm. You can tell a lot from a person if you could do a phone call or a FaceTime before. And a lot of the flirties are going to be like, but Damona, nobody's doing that. I know, that's why I'm recommending it. Mm-hmm. Because we're not doing it. And then we show up, we get ghosted. We realize they're not at all like we thought they were going to be. And then we have that dopamine hit and that crash of withdrawal when we realize that we've sort of gotten our hopes up again and it's not what we thought. You could literally tell half of those people you would have knocked out from a phone call or a FaceTime. Yeah. What do you think of this?
Oh, I'm obsessed. I love the pre-date phone call. I love it.
But people sometimes will give resistance because they're not used to doing it either.
Yep. It's something new. It's like, I wanted this whole process to be digital and let's just meet on the date. It's like, well, I mean, the phone makes me nervous sometimes, especially if it's someone you've never met before, but could you do a FaceTime instead? Like it could be, and you're not, a screener, right? It's something you're not going into your whole life story on those phone calls. Save all of that for the date. This is just an opportunity in many ways to validate, verify this person is who they say they are. How do I feel around them? Can they hold a conversation? And let's set the date.
Yeah, you can tell a lot from someone's voice.
Yeah.
You can tell a lot from just how they volley in the communication. And all you need to know is, could I spend an hour with this person?
Yes.
But you will find in 10 minutes, there are some people that you're going to be like, oh no, that they lied about this on their profile. They couldn't talk authentically, like they said they love pickleball, and then I asked them about it and they couldn't answer anything.
Yep.
So if you just add that, if you do nothing else and you just add that step, your dating anxiety is going to go down quite a lot. And then that first date, my tip for my clients is to keep that first date short and sweet. So if you have them from a dating app, I say an hour, 90 minutes tops. This is a coffee, a drink, an ice cream, a hike, a walk, something, but not in like a, not like in a deserted good place. Okay. Safety first.
Safety first. Yes.
This is just kind of the checkout. And then we want the real connection to build over time. I say in F the Fairy Tale that chemistry is a myth. Chemistry is a liar. So you can feel that immediate spark with anybody, right? But we think, oh, if I just stay here and I keep the conversation going, then I'll grab enough of their attention. They're going to like me, and they'll call me again. They'll text me again. They'll ask me out again, and it's going to keep going. But we don't want to wear out our welcome. We want to leave things to be revealed. So you're more likely, if you leave the date feeling like it's ending in the middle, like the energy is to be continued, you're more likely then to have them thinking about you in between the dates and wanting to see you again. And you keep doing that until the relationship has progressed to the point where you're like, oh, this is the thing.
Yeah. I think that's going to be so helpful. And it's like the comment and the question, like, because I have this one came from Flirtstagram. It's like, well, what do you do if someone is not responding? It's like very much if someone is not engaging back with you, it's like, I've had this experience. I know you've had clients that have had this experience too, and that's going to be part of this. But you're making hopefully other matches and then putting your time, energy, and attention into those conversations, those connections that are going to lead to a date. Perhaps that pre-date phone call or FaceTime. You can always exchange a Google number or something that isn't personally identifiable, because I get that feedback sometimes too. It's like, I don't want to exchange anything personal with someone until I actually meet them. That's okay. You can still do this pre-date phone call or video chat step first.
Such a fan of the Google Voice. I set up all my clients on Google Voice.
Yeah.
It's free, y'all. And then a lot of the apps now are also adding the video features where you can do the call. The technology, they're still working on it. I'll be honest. But yeah, you could do a FaceTime. You could call in the app. There's so many options, but just try it out before y'all say no. Just try it out, because you and I are both saying it's worth.
Yeah. I like it. It can just tell you a lot about not just someone you may go on a first date with, but how you feel as well. It's like and it could really, like, I've seen it. It has set people up for incredible first dates where, like, now they're a real person and you're even more excited than perhaps you were before. It's like that phone call 10, 15 minutes was so good. Like, you're just anticipating the date so much more now.
Yeah, just don't do it like in your bathroom.
Your
messy one all the time. I mean, you look cute all the time, so you can do it anytime. But like for me, I gotta get myself together before I get on a FaceTime. It doesn't mean like you have to go full glam.
Sure,
You don't have to go all the way. Just enough to suggest, like, hey, I look like my photo. And if you get resistance, the thing I always say is like, well, I don't want to waste your time. Like, don't make it about, well, I need to make sure that you're not a serial killer, which is actually what I said to my husband before I was like, wait, you got to call me. I have to make sure you're not a serial killer. Like, I would have been on the phone with him like, oh no, you sound like a serial killer. I'm so sorry. Like, what does a serial killer sound like? But if you got to set yourself up for success, and you can tell a lot just from those few minutes, and just like get to the date then.
Absolutely.
The goal is to get to the date, but to not waste too much of your time in the process.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Damona, these conversations go so quickly. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode. I think we're going to have some resources linked in the show notes around bios and conversations. Yeah, so we'll have some additional resources there. But please tell the flirties where you live on the internet, how they can find you, work with you, and where they can buy the book.
Oh yeah. Thank you for having me. I
Yes.
love your content online on the internet where you live. And yeah, I love this topic. So F the Fairy Tale is my new book. It is available wherever books are sold.
Yep.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's also an audiobook if you're an Audible person.
Mhm.
If you're not sick of listening to my voice after an hour of talking. At the Fairy Tale, rewrite the dating myths and live your own love story. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, all of the things at Damona Hoffman. And I do my podcast, Dates and Mates, every Tuesday. So you can find Dates and Mates wherever you're listening right now.
Amazing. Damona, thank you so much for being on the show today and having this conversation with myself and the Flirties. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Namaste.
Yes. Now, as I'm teaching yoga later tonight, in fact, like in an hour. So this is a perfect segue into that.
I love it. I'm a yogi too. So there's a lot of yoga principles also in F the Fairy Tale. I hope I get to practice with you one day.
Oh my God, yes. In LA.
In LA one day.
Flirty, what do you think? Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode, and thank you to our guest, Damona Hoffman, for having this conversation with us and guiding us through the process of dating online and using the dating apps to our advantage so that we can see them truly as a tool to help us make connections and find people to date and maybe even our person. Yeah. That's what you're looking for. All right. For more on Damona, to follow her, check out her book, F the Fairy Tale. Definitely recommend following everything, of course, linked in the show notes. Would love for you to share this one with a friend. Leave a review, a rating, subscribe. I certainly hope you found it helpful and the information useful. I am here for you, looking to bring you, I hope, really cool, incredible, insightful, and just useful conversations on how to frickin' date, because Lord knows it ain't easy. All right, that's gonna do it for this one today. My name is Benjamin. I'm the Flirt Coach. Would love to connect with you more over on Flirtstagram. That's Instagram. Flirt Talk. That's TikTok. And of course, via here, the Flirtations Flirtcast. I will see you again very, very soon, I hope. But until then, flirty. Happy flirting.